recording this session. Okay, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, good Lord, for this day that you have given to us. Thank you, Lord, sa blessings you have showered upon us. Guide us today, Lord, as we discuss all about the digital self, wisdom, understanding, and stand. And may you be glorified, good Lord, sa buong araw. And I just want to dedicate this class to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so if everyone's ready, so let's now begin our quiz. So, ang quiz ta subong is guess the meme. Guess the meme. Okay, ready, go. Joa?
Ako, ma'am.
Joa. Tapos si Zian.
Hey ma'am, it's Zian po.
Si Zian. Tapos si Leb.
Ako, ma'am. Si Caleb, ma'am.
Congrats kay mga meme lords. Congrats for being meme lords. Okay, so next is sa game. So that was just a energizer sa aton nga topic for today. So our topic is all about the digital self. And today we're gonna culminate, of course, the digital self, and it's all about the self, the internet, and of course, your privacy. Okay, so yung topic natin is very relevant, especially again now that we are in the digital age, and of course, damo subong, di ba? Damo kamo textmate, di ba? Subong. Sa inyong mga phones, ang mga textmate ko per megahambal nga nanalo ka ng loto, di ba? Or amuning products nga kailangan nga baklon mo, i-click mo ang link, then wala ka nagali kabalo, na fish ka nagali na sa isa ka phishing site. So, or magang aton nga topic really is very relevant.
Nananatiling pribado. Ginagawa namin ito sa pamamagitan ng pagpapaalala sa mga kumpanya at mga ahensya ng pamahalaan na nagpoproseso ng personal na information mo na gawin ang lahat ng nararapat ayon sa batas upang maprotektahan ang mga personal na datos na dapat sa iyo. Pero kalahati lang yan ang laban. Kailangan namin ang tulong mo. Mahalin ang sarili. Pangalagaan ang iyong right to privacy.
Okay, so that was just a teaser. Hopefully, bation to ang video sa inyo about what data privacy is. Okay, and I'll just do the FAQ, the commonly asked questions about data privacy, and just for us to be informed all about it. So, number 1, what is the Data Privacy Act? So, Republic Act number 10173, otherwise known as the Data Privacy Act, is a law that seeks to protect all forms of information, be it private, personal, or sensitive. It is meant to cover both natural or juridical persons involved in the processing of information. So, this law, of course, protects the citizens from unlawful or unauthorized processing of your personal information. So, munang mga those who get our phone numbers, those who get our names, addresses, ang aton nga love life status, though those are also private information. So, this law protects that. And what is the scope of data privacy? So the scope of data privacy applies to any natural or juridical persons involved in the processing of personal information. Also covers who, although not found or established in the Philippines, use equipment located in the Philippines, or those who maintain an office, branch, or agency in the Philippines. So, it applies to individually sa aton as it applies individually sa aton as citizens of the Philippines at the same time it also applies sa mga businesses or juridical persons. So may it be nga bisan businesses diri located in the Philippines or those nga use ng equipment or bisan hindi siya established sa Philippines pero ga-operate diri sa Philippines. Like for example, mga social media sites naton. So, sakop pa na siya sang Data Privacy Act. And what is the processing of personal information? So, under Section 3J of Data Privacy Act, when we say processing of personal information, it refers to any operation or any set of operations performed upon personal information, including but not limited to collection, recording, organization, storage, updating, modification, retrieval, consultation, use, consolidation, blocking, erasure, or destruction of data. So, in other words, processing of personal information is any operation where personal information is involved. Whenever your information is, among other things, collected, modified, or used for some purpose, processing already takes place. So, the moment that you write down your name in an application form sa SM mo nga Advantage card or sa SNR mo nga card, okay, the moment you write your name and then your details there, that's already a processing of information. At the same time, when you make your own account sa Facebook or another account nga email, so that's also a processing of information. Okay? So, what is personal information? So, under Section 3G of the Data Privacy Act, personal information refers to any information, whether recorded in a material form or not, from which the identity of an individual is apparent or can be reasonably directed as certain by entity holding the information, or when putting together other information would directly and certainly identify the individual. In other words, personal information is any information which can be linked to your identity, thus making you readily identifiable. So, anong examples sina? So, examples of your personal information could be your ID number. So, diri sa CPU. Diba? Your picture. Okay? Or your social security number. So, kung mag-professional na ka mo, mag-register ka mo sa SSS or mga TIN number na those are personal informations that can be linked to your identity. So, di ba may subong nga bag-o nga law which is the SIM Registration Act in which ang imo nga cellphone nga SIM, you need to register that online para may nga identity attached to that phone number. So, to be able to verify na ikaw ang may kapyot ng amuna nga cellphone number. So, may man diri, what is privileged information? So, when we say privileged information refers to any and all forms of data which under the rules of court and other pertinent laws constitute privileged communication. One such example would be any information given by a client to his lawyer. Such information would fall under attorney-client privilege and would therefore be considered privileged information. So, sa privileged information, these are information for example, they're related sa case sang person. So, si lawyer, kung ano man ang ihambal ni client sa iya, it is only between them and the client. Same man with, for example, as ako, as a psychologist. So, may privileged information man kami. So, hindi namon pwede ihambal sa iban ang mga things na ginapanghambal sa client namon sa amon. Okay, that is a privileged information. So, may man nga. So, sa number 6, what is the difference between personal information and sensitive personal information? Matter. So, kung does the difference matter? Oo. So, that the law treats both kinds of personal information differently. Personal information may be processed provided that the requirements of the Data Privacy Act are complied with. On the other hand, the processing of sensitive personal information is in general prohibited. The Data Privacy Act provides specific cases where processing of sensitive personal information is allowed. Okay, so may allowed nga personal information, mga names okay, mga those are allowed, okay, provided nga compliant siya sa Data Privacy Act. Pero may mga sensitive information nga, of course, generally prohibited na i-share. Pero may exceptions. So, anong mga examples ng mga sensitive information? So, like your address, your health status. So, those are sensitive personal information. Okay? So, is there a difference between personal information and sensitive personal information? So, anong ilalain nila? So, personal information refers to information that makes you readily identifiable. So, amo itong mga SSS number PIN number ang aton pictures, ang aton names, birth certificates. Pero may man kita sensitive personal information. So, as defined in Section 3 of the Data Privacy Act, so refers to personal information about your race, your ethnic origin, your marital status, your age, your color, religious, and philosophical and political affiliation. So, those are sensitive personal information. So, kaagi na last time na issuehan, if you heard, na-issuean ang Facebook for bias sa ilang algorithm because they are using sensitive personal information sang ilang mga users. Like, for example, if you're Republican, so most likely ang magwa man sa imong nga newsfeed are Republican post. Kung more left-leaning ka or more liberal so more democratic post ang makita mo. So hindi mo makita ang both sides. So that and Facebook is getting your data and then ginahatag sa iban, which is not allowed. Kaya since nag-agree ka lang sa terms ni Facebook, kasi Facebook mo lang ginahatag ang data mo. Actually, sa America, very particular din sila when it comes to data privacy. There is sa Philippines, duga start pa lang ang awareness when it comes to data privacy. So, also, ang another sensitive information are, of course, your health, education, genetic or sexual life, or any proceeding for any offense committed or alleged or have been committed by such person, the disposal of such proceedings, or the sentence of any court in such proceedings. So, that's also sensitive information. So, like I said, ang health mo. Okay? So, kung kisa dapat within the ang doctor mo man dapat wala yaman hatag sa iban ang health information mo. Dapat doctor privilege mo na. So, another is ang education mo. So, your grades. Okay, for example, your grades. So, ako as a teacher, hindi ko na pwede nga i-post ko lang ang grades ninyo nga wala sang consent ninyo. Okay, so, I know the trend na, di ba, within sa inyo nga mag-post ka mo sa grades ninyo, kaya nakapasar ka mo. But, that is also sensitive information. So, if you want to be careful or gusto yung protektahan email privacy, so, avoid doing so. So, amo na, that's why mga parents, wala kong kisang parents, proud dito sa ila bata. Sure, nilang grade, niya akong grade sang akong na bata. Pero, they didn't know that they are already violating, data privacy because sensitive ang information about sa education sang bata. So, ano pa gid? So, issued by government agencies peculiar to an individual, but which includes but not limited to social security numbers, review CM rent, health records, licenses, or its denial, suspension, or revocation, and tax returns. So, like I said, ang mga SSS numbers yun na, so sensitive information mo na siya. Inyong PhilHealth number, dapat ingatan nyo din. License number nyo, di ba, most of you are going to be nurses, di ba? So, ang license number nyo, dapat hindi nyo na gina-post. So, iba, gina-post nila ang PRC card nila, pero syempre, gina-erase nila ang license number or anything that would let the scammers see. Kaya base, they will use your license number against you, di ba? So, also, tax returns, so mga ITR nyo, those are sensitive personal information. So, specifically established by an executive order or an act of Congress to be kept classified. Therefore, any information that can be categorized under by the enumerated items are considered sensitive personal information. So, kung ano man ang information that is given by the executive order or by Congress, so those are also sensitive information. So, how is privileged information treated by the Data Privacy Act? So, paano itong mga attorney-client privilege, wala? So, how does the Data Privacy Act act on it? So, much like sensitive personal information, the processing of privileged information is prohibited by law. It's because it's only between you and your lawyer or and your psychologist. So, ano ang cases? Diba, last time dito, generally pwede ang processing of personal information. Pero, ano kung sensitive personal information? So, ano itong mga SSS number nyo, mga PIN, mga about sa life ninyo, love life. So, what are the exceptions? So, Section 13 of the Data Privacy Act enumerates cases where the sensitive personal information, and privileged information may be processed. So, ano ni siya? Letter A. So, kung naghatag consent ang data subject specific to the purpose prior to the processing, or in the case of privileged information, all parties to the exchange have given their consent prior processing. So, kung nag-consent ka nga, okay lang na i-post. For example, okay, or ikaw mismo nag-post, di ba? So, ito ba kasi yung mga grades niyo. Kung ikaw mismo ang nag-post, so, okay lang. So, that's already, because it's already your jurisdiction. It's already your responsibility kung ano mo na matabo sa info nga pagba sa inyong social media. But ang isa nga under sa sensitive personal information is of course your private messages, mga DMs ninyo. So, kung diba, hapos lang mag-post, diba, sa mga messages naton. But it's important, na it's important for us to, of course, ask permission sa party nga kausap mo if okay lang nga i-post mo na. So, especially if namian ka sa convo ninyo. So, those are, of course, sensitive information. So, it's just courtesy na lang to just ask permission. Pero kitabi hapos lang mag-screenshot na lang tapos kibot ka nila na post na galit ng convo ninyo. So, may cases na syempre, you need to screenshot without the consent of the person, especially if gamiton mo siya sa isa ka case. So, but of course, kung na-post mo na siya, so, nawala sang consent, so, maybe you would be subject to violations of data privacy. So, letter B, kung processing of the same is provided by existing laws or regulations. So, provided that such regulatory enactment guarantee the protection of sensitive information and privilege. Provided further that the consent of the data subjects are not required by law or regulation permitting the processing of sensitive information or the privileged information. So, ang second one is if required sang law. So, for example, ang inyo nga mga, kung mag-license ka mo bala, mag-register ka mo for license, syempre, kailangan nila sa sensitive personal information ninyo. So, kailangan yung gid nga ihatag, no, as kay required siya. Kay by ara siya sa law. Okay? So, another is, it is necessary to protect the life and health of the data subject or another person, and the data subject is not legally or physically able to express his or her consent prior to the processing. So, sa letter C, though, parehas na isang nag-pandemic, di ba, we are required by the establishments to write down our sensitive information, write down our numbers, our address, kung ano aton nga health symptoms, di ba? So, these are the exceptions, especially gid if amo tong nagka-pandemic and kinahanglan gid ang information. Provided, of course, that the establishment should not use that information for their promotions. Pero, kita naman, there are some companies that really violate this law. Okay? And, amo nagapang send sila text, promo text, bala like, wala ka man nag-consent pero nag-send kanila text, di ba? So, another is, amo tong, kung, for example, na-aksidente ka and you're not able to express your consent. So, syempre, i-fill upan sang imo nga guardian ang imo nga sensitive personal information. So, ang next one is, processing is necessary to achieve the lawful and non-commercial objectives of public organizations and their associations, provided that such processing is only confined and related to the bona fide members of these organizations or the associations, provided further that the sensitive personal information are not transferred to third parties, providing finally that consent of the data subject was obtained prior to. So, kung mag-join ka sa mga organizations, okay, so dapat, of course, this is, ang collection of sensitive information is only for the purpose of identification sa inyo nga members, and of course, hindi nila pag i-transfer to third parties or ihatag kung kay sino-sino lang ang inyo nga data. And of course, consent was obtained. So, ari pagid, processing of is necessary for the purpose of medical treatment, is carried out by medical practitioner or a medical treatment institution, and adequate level of protection of personal information is ensured. Okay, so this one, if kailangan, for example, mag-surgery, syempre, kailangan sang sensitive personal information, mga health concerns nyo. And of course, processing concerns such as personal information as is necessary for the protection of lawful rights and interests of natural or legal persons in court proceedings or the establishment, exercise of defense of legal claims, or when provided to government or public. So this one naman is more on sa law when it comes to court cases. So syempre, ang ano man nga sensitive personal information mo nga ihatag dito sa court, so dapat si court lang ang mag-process. So first, sa amon bisa as psychologist, meron na kami ginaubra nga psychological report, and ang psychological report, kung si court ang nag-order sa amin na mag-ubra sina, si court lang pwede makakita sang psychological report na ginubra naman. Okay, so now, after I have discussed briefly what is data privacy, so now, how do we protect our data? So I will present naman 2 videos again. So hopefully,
Nakakaasar, no? Would you believe may naloloko pa rin ito? Minsan ang teknolohiya, hindi puro happy at lucky lang. Pag nakompromiso ang iyong personal information at privacy, maaari itong makasama sa ating finances, ekonomiya, social life, love life at iba pa. Halimbawa, pagbukas mo ng email mo, daming messages na nag-o-offer. Di mo naman knows. Daming stalker ah. Ganito kasi yan, bes. Nag-post ka sa social media. Nag-register ka sa isang event. Hiningi nila yung personal information mo. Dahil excited ka at libre, binigay mo naman. Yung personal info mo, minsan, pinapasa ito para sa profiling o direct marketing. Buti ganyan lang. Paano kung ganito? Shocking, no? Pero don't stress yourself dahil meron na tayong batas dyan. National Privacy Commission ang kakampi mo sa iyong right to privacy. Life goal natin, ang maayos at secure na processing ng personal information mo. Know your rights, Bess. You have the right to be informed, right to object, right to access, right to rectification, right to erasure or blocking, right to damages, right to data portability, at right to file a complaint. Maaari mo itong ipadala sa complaints@privacy.gov.ph. Kung may iba ka pang katanungan, ipadala sa info@privacy.gov.ph. Galing, di ba? At kung may magkakasala, National Privacy Commission din ang kakampi mo. At may kaparusahan sa paglabag ng right to privacy mo. Bes, ikaw lang ang pwedeng magsabi kung kanino ka magtitiwala. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng privacy. Visit www.privacy.gov.ph.
Mr. Robot is probably one of the most accurate portrayals of what hackers can actively do. If you're interested in hacking and don't understand a lot of this, the TV show itself actually employs hackers to work on the show to depict real-life hacks that could happen in real life. And it's a very, very accurate portrayal of everything that we see in today, from being able to hack smartphones to getting access to a big corporation and being able to bring them to their knees from a cyber perspective. So what's the top 5 things that you can do to make yourself more secure both at your business and your home? Number 1, use two-factor authentication or two-step verification everywhere that you can. Your banking systems, Twitter, Facebook, all support the ability for you to enable an additional security feature that you may not know. If you go to your settings, it's in there. You can enable it, and every time that you log in, it'll register your computer, and you can then get a text message to go into that system as a second form of verification. And why that's important is because if a hacker gets access to your password, they still have to have access to your phone to get access to your account. And that's really important by enabling that specific security step, probably number 1. Number 2, don't use the same password everywhere. I know it's hard, but using the same password everywhere is one of probably the easiest ways that we break in as hackers. So if you have the same Twitter password as your same banking information, those are things that can get you in some serious trouble. Number 3, make sure that you stay up to date. Those security patches. Every time you have a Windows update that says, hey, I need to update your computer, it's usually to fix a known attack that hackers have figured out to get access to your computer. So keep up to date. Whether you're using a Mac, they aren't impervious to attack, or using Windows, same thing, update your systems. That's the most important thing. Always keep up to date with what you're having out there. Same thing for third-party applications. If you're using Java, Adobe, PDFs, Office documents, those are all things that you want to keep up to date, and that makes it much harder for us as hackers to break into your system. Number 4, social media. Be careful with how much information you actually put online. We as attackers can look at that, look at what you do, your spending habits, what you might be doing from a day-to-day perspective, going and buying Starbucks at a certain location. Those are all things that we can use to identify when you're going to be out of the country or when you're going to be at a business meeting. We can use that as a method to attack you. One of the main things that we do as hackers, especially when it comes to social engineering, is we create a sense of urgency, something that you're familiar with, but you have to take action upon. So let's just say, for example, I'm a Verizon customer and I have an Amazon package that's getting delivered. Well, if I, as an attacker, know an Amazon package is getting delivered, sending a text message from a Verizon customer support service line coming from Amazon saying, hey, your package is being rerouted, you need to log into the site to get it delivered again, is something that an attacker can use. So those are things that attackers can leverage is urgency, how you actually operate, and all that information that you post online are things that we can use as attacks. And last but not least, personal information. That's one of the biggest things that attackers can leverage to get access to your data. Things like social security numbers, your credit card numbers. A person is not going to call you on the phone from a banking service and ask you for that type of information. So whenever you get a call that's too good to be true, or a call that is a fraud services line, call them back. Look at the number on the website themselves and call it back. Because a lot of times attackers will impersonate financial services, they'll impersonate different organizations to try to get your personal information and use that to be able to make fraudulent charges. So when it comes to that, your phone, verify first. Go to their site, call the site itself from there, and then call to an actual person that's actually at that institute itself.
Okay. So those are the two nga videos that I shared sa inyo. Hopefully you got something or learned something from it. So, Ari, 30 tips online. So, I think I posted it sa inyong takeaways. So, I encourage you also to read this, okay, about how we can be safe online. Yeah. So, now, let's proceed na to our discussion questions. Actually, duwa man lang ang discussion questions there. So, of course, wala gid ko nakalipat nga hopefully nagka-prepare ka mo sa inyong answer because of course, we have here our favorite na Roletta in the in our in our class, no? So, sige. So, I'll just spin the wheel and let us see kung sino ang lucky nga student nga mapunutan. Okay, si Julia. Is Julia here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. So, Carla, what are the question that you need to answer is what are your realizations now that you're aware of data privacy?
Well, I realized that data is something that's my data is something that can be very easily exploited if I do the wrong things, and therefore I should be careful with how I present myself on the internet and how I protect myself using passwords or VPNs or however ways I can employ to make sure that I'm safe on the internet and safe from people who wants to harm me and using my data and my personal information.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Sige. So, there's another representative. Ayhan. Si Ella. Ella Roton. Ella, are you here? Ella?
Yes, ma'am. Wait lang, ma'am.
Okay, sige. So, ang question is, what are your realizations now that you're aware of data privacy?
Now that I'm aware of data privacy, I realize it is essential to keep one's identity anonymous. Lack of access control regarding personal information can put individual at risk for fraud, identity theft, blackmail, or embarrassment. Privacy is a fundamental aspect of maintaining dignity. For each individual, privacy is a significant part of dignity in social care. It ensures that the person knows that no one will intrude in their personal space, their rooms, or any of their belongings without explicit permission from the other person.
Okay, sige. Thank you, good Ella and Julia, for your answers. Sige, so, next question sa aton special question is, now that you have learned about data privacy, what you will do now or anong inyong plan to protect yourself on the internet? Okay? Sino ayhan ang aton nga lucky student? Si April. April Bumba? April? Here? Wala siya. Okay, so, see who's next? Si Francis. Francis, are you here? Bilya?
Yes, ma'am, ako.
Okay, sige. Now that you learn about data privacy, what now is your plan to protect yourself from on the internet?
In order to keep someone from stealing my personal information, I always keep in mind to generate strong passwords that cannot be readily hacked, to maintain operating systems and software up to date, and to be wary of email links and attachments. I always use two-factor authentication and avoid revealing personal information on social media platforms.
Okay, thank you, good Francis. Thank you, Francis. So, another. Okay, si Bryce. Bryce, are you here? Bryce Molen.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay, hello. Okay, so what will you do now to protect yourself on the internet?
Um, I will be more careful in what I share, especially online, and the important data that can be gathered by a hacker. I will check the sites that I'm going to log in to ensure that it's authentic and safe to drop my data. Also, we should be most aware about the viruses and to avoid it by downloading antivirus app, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, sige. Thank you, Gid, Francis, and Bryce. So, I think those are the two questions Gid nga important there. No? So, for now, do you have any questions, concerns about our lesson or about sa mga coverage, exams and all? Okay. Wala man. Sige, but just to remind lang ang aton ng mga ulubrahon. So, ang ulubrahon nyo um for modules 8 and 9. Excuse me. So, you're gonna do a digital planner again, study habit planner, student goal planner, and study habit tracker. So, I assigned this for 2 weeks. Then, the deadline is November 22 pa. Okay? And, of course, Ari, ang tanawon subog, ang digital self. Okay? Na, PDF and, of course, the video lecture. And, of course, don't forget your takeaways that you will answer today. Ang deadline naman na is karon 11:59. So, this is for your attendance also. Okay, so, after sang module 9 ta, last na lang yun nga lesson, which is module. And, those are the things that you need to do. For your midterms, like I said, ang ating midterms is from modules 1 to 5 man lang. So, just review that. And also, ang meron sa yung practice quiz. So, answeran yung practice quiz so that will serve as your reviewer. So, I will close the practice quiz on the, kailan pa ito? On November 12. Okay, this is for the protection month also of our test. So, para, answer na ka mo before November 12. Although, hindi siya recorded. They recorded ang practice quiz, but you're encouraged to answer that. Okay, so, your exam is on, I think, our announcements. Okay, their exams is on November 15. So, November 15 is Tuesday. Okay, tama ba? Oo, yes, Tuesday. 8:30 to 10 EN 110 or Engineering Building 110. So, balaan niyo kung din ng Engineering Building.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so for those nga kabalo, ang amula siya ang do green nga building sa may big field dampe. So ang for nursing, syempre LDT kamo, di ba? Ang across sina is the engineering building. First floor, 1110. So, ako man ang proctor ninyo. So, wala man kamo, wala man kamo sang, problem or anything. Okay, so, any other concerns? Okay, wala naman. Sige. So, let me check na lang your attendance.